You may have been playing this G major chord for a few weeks or a few decades, but it's really not the best way to voice this chord. Want to discover a much better version? Keep watching. What is something we all do with music, whether we are musicians or not? We listen to it. How music sounds is pretty important, and yet, for some of us guitarists, we can tend to play by shape and perhaps sometimes take for granted some of the chords we learned early on, or assume that they're as good as they can be. This is a G major chord. It contains all the elements of a G chord: the root G, the major third B, and the fifth D. We have G, B, D, G, D, G, with the degrees root, third, fifth, root, fifth, root. But let's not confuse the formula of a chord with the voicing of a chord. Ready for a random analogy? My family and I like to eat free-range eggs. They're healthier for a start. This is because they're from chickens that have more room to roam, rather than being confined to a small space. Music notes sometimes also need more room, especially if they are lower in register. Now, I know we're not playing the piano, but consider just for a moment what happens when we take these exact same notes and play them on a piano. What do you observe? Well, the lowest three notes are all crammed together. They are G, B, and D. That's a triad, but it's a very low triad in terms of register. As a matter of fact, on a standard tuned guitar, it is the lowest major triad possible. And to me, it sounds pretty muddy. You might prefer to play G major like this, with G, B, D, G, B, G. The degrees are root, third, fifth, root, third, root. The same problem exists though, because those bottom three notes are still very close together. Here is this G major voicing on the piano for your consideration. It's still pretty muddy because of that low triad. Hold that thought for a moment. The lowest open major chord possible on the guitar is an E major chord, for which the notes are E, B, E, G sharp, B, and E, with root, fifth, root, third, fifth, and root. Notice that instead of having a triad at the bottom of this chord, we have a much more open voicing. Now I'll play this E chord voicing on the piano. To me, that sounds way better. Humor me as I play an open A major chord. The notes are A, E, A, C sharp, and E, with the degrees root, fifth, root, third, fifth. Again, no triad at the bottom. A much more open voicing. Here it is on the piano. Again, better. One more, the open D major chord. The notes are D, A, D, and F sharp, with degrees root, fifth, root, and third. And here is this D major chord on the piano. What do all three of these open chords, E, A, and D major, have in common? At the bottom of each of them, we have root, fifth, root, and then we have the third. Rather than root, third, fifth. Those chickens, or notes, have room to roam. So how can we give our muddy G major chord a more open voicing? Would you believe me if I told you it only takes 2 fingers? First, here's what it looks and sounds like. Just watch and listen as I remove that major third that's been sounding on the 5th string. The notes are G, I mute and skip the 5th string, then D, G, B, and G. The voicing at the bottom of this chord is now root, 5th, root, and then we continue with the 3rd and the root. Much like the open E, A, and D major chords. This is the open voicing I recommend. Listen to the difference. You don't have to watch, just listen. Here are the less optimal open G chords. And here's our new and improved open G chord. No contest, in my opinion. This is how it sounds and looks on the piano. Want to know how to play it on the guitar? Gently curl your fretting hand pinky, your 4th finger, in toward your hand without bending any of the other fingers. Then lay your hand across the guitar so that you only fret the 3rd fret of strings 6 and 1. Let your 3rd finger mute the 5th string, and soon you'll have it. Are there additional benefits to this voicing and fingering? Yes. We have much more economy of movement from this new G chord to a C chord. Watch the difference between how much I have to move my hand here versus how little I have to move my hand here. Still not convinced? Watch what's possible when the 1st and 2nd fingers are freed up with this new paradigm. They can play part of a C major chord on top of this G chord. It's called a C over G chord. Like this. Do you like folk music or fingerstyle? This is just a glimpse of what's possible, but check this out. Yeah, buddy. I hope this has given you a sense that even something as basic as an open G major chord can be retooled just a bit to be made much more artistic. It sounds clearer, more elegant, and more pleasing to the ear. See, we can always go back to the basics, even those of us who have been playing the guitar for decades. So yes, guitar voicings really do matter. Now, I'm not asking you to completely unlearn and relearn this chord. You can still use the other G chord shapes if you prefer, but finding different voicings for the same chord gives us more options, which leads to greater artistry. And if anything I just said makes you grin and nod, you're going to want to check out Guitar Success for You, where we go much deeper with concepts like today's topic, but also color chords, fretboard knowledge, fingerstyle, flat picking, strumming, capo strategies, scales and modes, and so much more. And it's all neatly arranged in a battle-tested format to help you get the most out of the tools, and more importantly, we talk about why they are important. And you get to do all of this in a community of like-minded followers of Christ. Hop on board and see what you're missing. Head on over to guitarsuccessforyou.com. I hope to see you inside the membership. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.